This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by AuthorU and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, I love talking buzz on books and how to create it. And is there a way that might be more appropriate if you were California-based as an author or writing about California? Or how about Florida or Georgia or Massachusetts or fill in the blank? Well, we're actually going to be talking today with an expert in representing authors with a Southern bent to their writing or their locale or their geography. And that if that's for you, or you're going to be going down to that areas in the southern areas and you need some savvy advice for publicity, this is the person who you might want to be chatting with. Lynda Bouchard is with me today. She has been advising, playing with, working with, excelling authors, taking their books to unbelievable levels for over 2 decades. She's the founder and chief inspirational officer of Booking Authors, Inc., which is really a boutique marketing firm dedicated to the Southern authors. And Lynda, I have to tell you, I already have some people I need to get into your umbrella very quickly down there. So, yeah, great. At the core of her, of what she does is she has a very keen sense of humor, which I think is part of the pedigree and DNA of Southern writers. The way they bring things out, and she can really nimbly look at outside of the book thinking, which I think is really critical for its success. She can't. I think one of the problems with so many publicists is they get into a boilerplate mentality, where they deliver things here and there, and they don't realize that you have to fine tune, you have to hook it, as you would do if you were newsjacking a story to tie it in with your book. You've got to really do a customization. Books are not one size fit all, and they certainly are not one size fit all when it comes to specialty and regions. So with that, we're going to jump right in and welcome Lynda to AuthorU-Your Guide to Book Publishing. Lynda, it's a great day. Glad to have you.
Thank you, Judith. Oh, it's such a pleasure to be with you and your listeners. I'm excited about sharing these wonderful, wonderful opportunities that they have once their book is published. And as I often tell my clients, congratulations, you've written a book. The easy part is over.
Exactly. And that's the truth. It's 90% now from now on out. The 10% was getting the book done.
Absolutely. And it's a very unique process, Judith, in promoting a book because you have a tangible object with intangible ideas inside of it. So you really must paint the picture and create that passion and excitement for your potential reader before they open the cover. I mean, they're going to see it on Amazon or online or on your website, but the true essence of the story only comes through after reading it. So a publicist and an author must work collaboratively together from the get-go in creating that excitement for the book.
Well, one of the things that you really talk about, and I know I kind of rant on it every once in a while, is that the necessity, and it's really a necessity, to develop relationships with whether it's reporters, with publicists, with whoever it is that can help do shout outs, whether they are hired to do it or just sometimes it happens almost on a casual basis with others. So what are the kind of the steps that you are on your must-do list of building relationships with the media? Because the media, Lynda, has changed so much. Where it used to be, the print was our go-to thing, and it in a lot of places, print is almost gone.
Yes.
Although
Right.
books are thriving, print books are
Right.
thriving. Don't you find that
Right.
fascinating?
It is fascinating, but to me, it's not surprising because in our social media, 24/7, always on world, people crave connections. And one way of, finding meaning in our lives is through books, through reading. So it's just primordial in us to tell stories and to share those stories. So yes, the media landscape and the publishing landscape has changed dramatically since I began, and there is so much opportunity for authors now because really all you need is a laptop and an idea, and off you go. So it's just cutting through all that noise in the noisy world of information. So creating authentic connections with the media is absolutely essential. And really, I still do a lot of it the old-fashioned way. I take journalists to lunch. I interview bloggers. I pick up the phone and let people in the media know that I have a great author with a wonderful idea. And it's just really still making those authentic connections, because social media, in my opinion, Judith, can only go so deeply. Mm-hmm. Traditional media still is really the trump card, and even online magazines, online newspapers, you have a greater and wider, broader platform to express yourself. So connecting with the media is absolutely essential, and it's a lot of work. That's why authors find it daunting, absolutely daunting. When they think about marketing, they go, ugh, oh no.
Oh, they do. Oh yeah, it's the glaze in the eyes. And but the reality is that the internet and social media has allowed for the very typical, in many cases, introverted author to get out of their shell. I mean, one of their big fears is getting in front of people. So you get to hide behind your laptop, or you get to do that, or you pick up the phone. A lot of times they're quite good on the phone. It's just something about the face-to-face that puts them into a triple whammy or something. I'm not quite sure what it is. I'm not the psychologist here.
Right. No, but there is a great deal of psychology to publicity, and not, and absolutely, and not every author is, emotionally suited to meet their fans. Ron Rash, a beloved regional Southern writer, who's the author of Serena and so many other wonderful pieces of fiction, shared with me at a recent book festival. He said, I'm just exhausted. He said, this is what I hate the most. And he's always a keynote speaker at an event. So his anxiety level is ratcheted up when he meets his fans and his readers who just adore him. But not everyone is suited for it. I mean, he shared with me that he has downtime after for like several days just to,
it zaps him. It zaps him.
It does. It's exhausting.
The beauty of the Southern writer, though, is that not only most of them have this awesome accent, but the second thing is that they are just exquisite storytellers. And if they will just open their book, for fiction anyway, open their book and start off with a story, that's the work. That's the work.
Absolutely. Well, Southerners, of course, were always storytellers. They began with the oral tradition of storytelling on their wonderful front porches on, sublime summer evenings. And family is so important to the Southerner. So they share all those stories, and those stories evolved into writing. And Pat Conroy's as well. His family told beautiful stories to each other, and Pat shared those in his fiction. And yes, Southerners are just inherently natural storytellers, and it's beautiful. And there's a certain romance that the country, perhaps the world, feels with this southern region. A lot of that has to do with the Civil War, which is still going on in many ways, and the lore of
Listen, one of my Southern humorist friends says, "Listen, we're still worrying about the silver they stole during the Civil War." I mean, literally, it's still there. It's ingrained.
Oh my gosh, yes, it's part of our cultural landscape and in our psyche. And there are so many wonderful stories that evolved from the Civil War. Charles Frazier's Cold Mountain, of course, you have Gone with the Wind, the iconic novel by Margaret Mitchell. There are just so many stories, and they're still being written. It's an evergreen topic. And because Southerners are so prolific in their storytelling, we have so many wonderful authors as a result. And I worked with one author, Ken Berger, B-U-R-G-E-R, who was a columnist at the Charleston Post and Courier. And he turned those columns, lifestyle columns about the South, into a book titled Baptized in Sweet Tea. I mean, how Southern can you get, right? And his book became a best-selling independent, it won Independent Novel Awards from the Independent Publishers Association and many other regional awards. So my point in that is that you don't, as an author, have to start big. In fact, I advise against it. Small is agile. Think regionally, think small, begin in your own home territory where you have immediate followers, and then work out. It's like dropping a pebble into a pond and watching the circle of influence just build out, and you leverage every single media interview and newspaper interview you get, and it just builds upon itself. But starting small is so essential. And being a regional famous author is wonderful. Not everyone is going to be a David Baldacci or a Pat Conroy. Right. 2% of writers, Judith, become best-selling authors. 2%. And so becoming...
And that's what people need to do. You really need to do a reality check, but you can be a bestseller in so many different ways, Lynda, and that's what a lot of authors don't get. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and I'd like you to let's start with some of those baby steps that starts building this circle in the river that spreads out and then becomes just one massive forward movement for you in your book. And that I'd like, and I love the idea of regional. And does it have to be regional about the story, or is it regional about the author's specific location? So with that, we're going to be right back. Lynda Bouchard is with us today, and we are talking books. And books from her expertise of over 25 years with Booking Authors, Inc. I'm Judith Briles. It's AuthorU, your guide to book publishing.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Is there a book in you or another? AuthorU will show you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you'll find a supportive and brainstorming community that's connected and creative no matter where you live. AuthorU brings in national experts for its book camps and annual author extravaganza held each May. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through AuthorU's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. The Resource, its online book publishing news magazine, is content-heavy and it's free. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, AuthorU is for you. If you're a hobbyist or a casual author, it's not. Join AuthorU today through its website at AuthorU.org. Follow AuthorU on Twitter at AuthorU and on Facebook at AuthorU, where timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted daily. AuthorU, where the author goes to become seriously successful.
Every picture tells a story. And it's a truism that people do judge a book by its cover. Nick Sellinger and NZ Graphics have been in the business of producing superior graphic cover design and interior layout for self-published authors, independent and traditional publishers for years. He has developed a reputation for excellent work, fast turnarounds, and best of all, affordable pricing. NZ Graphics also produces ebooks and book marketing materials such as posters, sell sheets, postcards, bookmarks, business cards, logos, and more. Books designed for his clients have won multiple book awards, including Best Book Award by U.S. Book News, multiple Evie Awards from the Colorado Independent Publishers Association, Indie Book Awards, the San Francisco Book Festival Award, and Freedom Medal Award from Valley Forge. Visit www.nzgraphics.com or call 303-985-4174 for more details about making your book the success it should be. Mention that you are an FOJ, friend of Judith's, and that you heard about NZ Graphics on your guide to book publishing.
One of the most important decisions you will ever make is your choice for printing your book. You are choosing a company which will be responsible for guiding you through the process and printing your book at a level of quality and detail that embraces your personal and creative needs. You want to choose a company that when your book finally arrives, you are delighted and ready to move on to the next level, and one that is customer focused. Choose King Printing Company and Addy Books to be that company that brings you to the next level. Go to kingprinting.com or call 978-458-2345 and ask for Tom Campbell.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Publicity. Do you need it? Do you want it? Should you avoid it? Okay, so number one, do you need it? Yeah. Do you want it? You should. Should you avoid it? The answer is no. So with us is Lynda Bouchard. We're talking about getting you and your voice and your book into the right places. And it's going to take steps, little steps. And we're going to start with some of these little steps. And then we're going to get into some other areas. For example, social media versus traditional media. And some of great techniques for the DIY author who just loves to do it themselves, which I know a lot of you do. All right, so Lynda, let's start with some of these small steps that authors should be looking at.
Okay, sure. First of all, I would highly recommend that authors, this is a common mistake if authors are doing it on their own, in which I really highly advise against, is that authors tend to say, hey, I've written this great, no matter what media they're pitching, I've written this great book, you should have me on your show. No. After you've written your book, it's really not even about you. It's the value that you can bring to others. You have to think like a journalist, and you have to present your story like a journalist. So tell why you did what you do stories. Why are you doing what you do? When people know the backstory that led to what you're doing, they'll connect with you, and it will resonate with others, and it'll build pulling power over time. It's one of the best ways to attract publicity is to give the media a compelling origin story.
Okay, so why don't you give us an example of a compelling origin story?
Perfect example, Pat Conroy. Let's use somebody everyone has heard of.
Right.
It could be your favorite author, but the backstory, Pat's compelling origin story was that he grew up in a Marine Corps family with a very abusive, emotionally and physically, father who was very abusive to him. And that just endeared him to his readers. I mean, my gosh, they empathized with him. People could say, yeah, that's me too. I'm not alone. His backstory was essential, and that is your origin story. And nobody has the same backstory. Isn't that cool? So everyone has an origin story that they can use, and it will be unique to you. So leverage that uniqueness and sell it to the media. It could be having somebody famous in your family. It could be, I don't know. You all have your own unique backstory. So just remember that the basics of every journalistic story are the who, what, where, when, and why. So that still remains today. So use those components and think like a journalist and say, this is what I can offer your audience.
Mm-hmm. Let me just say this in the backstory. Is that what they write on their first story, or is that their hook that they try to get to? Let me give you an example. We were at a function last month. I was speaking at a conference, and several of us, we become buddies. Several of the vendors and the speakers were out for dinner, and some of us knew each other. And I just threw on the table, tell us something we don't know about you.
Right.
And we all went around, and one of the stories I told is how I won the big deal on Let's Make a Deal, and how how I did it. And we got around, and one guy said, he just bowled us over when he said, I was abducted when I was an infant, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Wow!
I mean, yeah, that's a showstopper, really. Right. It's like he wins.
He won. Oh, no, Bob won. And he went on to tell him that he was born into a family that with the children basically were indifferent, and it was, I guess what you would call a white trash type of family. And there was another family who lived down the street and, just adored this little baby. And they were appalled by what went on, and the just benign neglect of this little one. And when they moved, and they decided to take the baby with them, they just went took baby Bob. Took baby Bob.
Right.
And no one ever reported it. No one ever reported it. Okay. And he was 30 years old. When one of the sisters found him, and he went back to meet everyone, and he looked around, and he's this has been now 15 years. He stays in contact with her, but no one else. And he looked around, and he said, "Thank God for I call them heart parents because I have a heart mother too. Thank God for that, because I would not have achieved what I have achieved. I would not have the values that I have today if I hadn't been taken." Isn't that amazing?
That is a beautiful example, Judith. Absolutely. I mean, his, perceptions of life and everything. I mean, that's just a wonderful story, because oftentimes we gain strength from our adversity. And that should be used front and center in your promotional efforts as a writer. If you lead from your heart, as I said, there's a psychology of publicity. And to lead from your heart, I mean, let's face it, our emotions shape our decisions and actions and the outcome of things. So that's a brilliant example of using his backstory to promote his book. Sometimes your backstory won't have anything to do with your book. And
that's what I wonder. So do you put that in a book when it's irrelevant or disconnected, let's say, dissident maybe is the better word, or is that something you do to try to hook a reporter, that what makes you unique and stand out to get their attention? I think that's the question listeners might have.
Of course, yes. And sometimes you'll use it you'll probably always want to use it to hook, but the timing and the event and the place must be correct. For example, I worked with an author who wrote a book who had survived cancer. And so I used that to promote him, and we promoted him to cancer charity golf tournaments where he sold books and was a keynote speaker and spoke about his cancer journey. And the book was an afterthought. Sometimes your book is merely the calling card, and you will talk about your backstory or something related to you rather than to the book. It just depends where you're pitching, and you can be targeted about that. For example, my cancer surviving author, he spoke with cancer survivors as a keynote speaker throughout the South and made a considerable amount of money as a speaker doing that. And that's the thing too. And that's giving value to what you're doing, and it engages your audience because it's something relatable. Oftentimes, as I said, you'll write the book, and then it's really not even about the book. So writing a book suddenly makes you an expert on everything.
It should, at least in some of your areas, but people do look and listen to you, I think, a little bit differently once you become a published author.
Absolutely. There's great value in it, and there's mystery. There's this mystery about being a writer, and it's just, transformative. There's an alchemy that happens between a reader and a writer that is just beautiful. And so just realizing the importance of your backstory and knowing that it is about relationships. You want to develop these relationships with the media and be honest and open and transparent. And it will engage the journalist, and it will make you stand out from all the others out there. And that's one thing you want to do, and it's very difficult to do because there's so much information flowing over us every single day that few things stick. But what does stick is a great story.
Okay, so let's talk about those sticky points before we take our next break. Let's get into some of these really quick steps that we can do. So thinking of ourselves like a journalist on that, and that means you need to create that compelling origin story, that backstory to hook them, to get their attention. I heard that. All right? That's right. What other goodies?
Right. Well, also... knowing the rules, when to pitch, who to pitch, how to pitch. Oftentimes it helps to have a publicist in your camp to help you with this. Updating information constantly. Follow-up is so important. And every journalist wants to be pitched differently. So oftentimes your publicist knows that because you can really...
Yeah, I think so too. Lynda, I think one of the problems that people get stuck with is I was going to say the FU word, follow up, everybody.
Love it. Yeah.
They don't follow up. They don't want to follow up. I mean, and I'm not talking, it's just not publicity, dear listener. It is almost on anything, on sales. It's on getting something done. It's seeking help, whatever it is. Somehow, most people seem to think that people are telepathic, and they will instantly know that, yes, you are the one. And, it doesn't always happen that way.
Oh, it hardly ever happens that way. So, yes, follow-up is important, but there's a happy medium there. You want to be somewhat persistent, but you don't want to bug the heck out of them so that they don't like you. You have to keep in their good graces. So it's important to know and have that discernment. But yes, it's essential because I can't tell you how many times, Judith, that I've followed up and they're like, "Oh, Lynda, I'm so glad you called. I've got it right here. I just haven't had time. Thank you. And it's been the result of either getting a media placement or not. So, two, really understand the importance of your local media. It's not as glamorous or as big as national media, but there's gold in your own backyard. Local media loves their local celebrities.
Well, let's come back to that. We're going to take a quick break here, and I want to come back. And how can you mine that? Because, I can give you an example. I'm in Denver, and it is almost, you would rather go in for a full-blown extraction of all your teeth in trying to get into, for example, the Denver Post. It is unbelievable now to try to do that. But we'll come back to that in just a sec. Lynda Bouchard's with us. We're talking books, publicity, but really doing it with a regional twist and how you can stand up and shine above others. This is AuthorU, your guide to book publishing.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Since 1987, Color House Graphics has set the standard for quality book production. Whether you decide to print a small quantity of books or need a large print run, depend on Color House to help you. You'll receive professional help and advice the moment you reach one of our representatives. If you mention hearing about us on your guide to book publishing with Judith Briles, we will provide you a discount on the first order you place. To speak with a project manager, call us toll-free at 800-454-1916 or visit us at www.colorhousegraphics.com.
Want to publish like a pro today? Well, then take a look at Ingram Spark, the only publishing platform that offers print and ebook services through a single source. Upload, edit, and manage titles all in one place. Take more control of printing costs with print on demand, and reach even more readers through one of the world's most extensive distribution networks. Built by independent publishers for independent publishers, Ingram Spark has everything you need to maximize your book's potential: color printing, ebook distribution, print on demand, global reach, and more. Start publishing with Ingram Spark today and see just how far your titles will go tomorrow. That's ingramspark.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
With us is Lynda Bouchard. We're talking about publicity for you and your book, when you do it. And of course, I think what we need to, before we exit this session today, we need to make sure that we ask her, when should the marketing process begin? And again, I do want to make sure, because, as a publicist, she wants people to, of course, hire her. But there are some that, maybe are good at doing it yourself, and what you need to know in your virtual media kit, let's just say. We need something like that. And we want to get into also how to really differentiate yourself in this incredibly busy, incredibly crowded, incredibly polluted world of books out here. And Lynda, I don't know if you know the recent stats that are flowing out, but people have always said that, print books are going to go down, they're going down, going to go down. Print books, for all our listeners, are alive and well. They're actually holding their ground just fine. Ebooks have declined, and in fact, they're declining faster in Europe than in the United States, which I think I just read an article today on that from the UK. So, and audiobooks are up. So I think we'll come back and do another audiobook show with Richard Riemann, but that's something that you need to be tuned into.
Right, exactly, right. Could be, oh yes, absolutely. And it's so encouraging to hear that real books are still alive and well. I never, ever believed it when people said, oh, we'll never have, in a couple of years we won't have any real books. No, there is, I think reading is a tactile as well as an intellectual experience. And I was on the beach in South Carolina just a couple of weeks ago walking my dog, and it was so interesting. It's like I'm always in publicity mood. So I was taking a mental survey, like how many people are reading real books? Every single person on the beach had a real book in their hand, and it was so wonderful.
Lynda, I do that too on cruise ships. It is like 7 to 1 for real books to anything electronic. And when I look around in airports, that it's books that are being read, and the electronic stuff is games that are being played.
Right. I mean, if you're anything like me, I'm an ink sniffer. And I'm a right in the margins, highlight kind of gal, and turn down the corners. And, oh, man, it's an involvement with a book that cannot be matched with a Kindle or a Nook. Yes, you alluded to when to begin your marketing process, and it is my absolute goal in life to change an author's perception of marketing and to think about it first. And I see it, instead of seeing it as drudgery, I see it as an invitation to a party, their party, and have fun with it. Think about it first, not last, and think about the end user of your book. Have respect for them by thinking about marketing first, because your readers will thank you. It will create more value for them and for yourself, and you'll see ideas all over the place along the way. It really is fun, and just trust your crazy ideas. But yes, think about it first instead of after, because here's the thing, it's a Sisyphean effort to get a book out into the marketplace. So if you begin it well before, I recommend 6 months, maybe more, before you can start building your media list, start making those contacts, start pitching to the magazine, start pitching to radio, TV, because everybody has different guidelines in lead time. So if you start it first, you will get a running start the minute your book is out, published. You can begin, start those things rolling. If you don't, you come to a screeching halt. It's like, and then the book sits there for 6 months while you're working on all that. So do yourself a favor, set yourself up for success by beginning early.
So it starts with exactly who are you really writing for? Although, it's just to share with all our readers, one of my most successful books, it created a series of books. 3 books came from another book where it took me diving into the healthcare field because several directors of nursing heard me speak and said, we need you badly. You need to do a study just on us. And they hounded me. I mean, they almost stalked me. In doing it, and I did it and was kind of shell-shocked with the data and turned up writing the books for that group that I happily dived into that field for 2 decades, selling and speaking to it. So sometimes we don't know who the audience comes to you, but you've got to write the compelling book that gets their attention. Maybe I need to say it that way.
Yes, absolutely. And compelling is the key word. Great writing is essential. Great writing will always find its audience. And, you do yourself injustice by not thinking about marketing your wonderful book early. And just know that it is really about relationships. And the cool thing about this, in this world of instant everything, one still must wait for the writer. And that adds value to the work. So it's a huge thing. Language is dynamic and living and breathing, ever changing. And it connects us, or it can create divides. It's wieldy and slippery, and it's beautiful. And so they are powerful weapons, and books are powerful. So take as much care in the writing, in the marketing, rather, as you do in the writing of it.
Oh, I think so too. Lynda, let me ask you this. When someone is seeking or thinking about marketing and engaging a publicist, what tools, besides having that compelling book, that they bring to you, what tools do you want them to have in place, ideally, or you can certainly help them develop, I guess. But what do you want them to bring to you to create this party you're talking about?
Right. Well, I tell you, first of all, the relationship between a publicist and an author is a very close one, and it's a collaborative effort. So aligning yourself with the right publicist is essential. Not every publicist is meant for every author. It's a relationship. Think about it as you would your husband or your boyfriend. It's the same thing. There's trust involved. There's disclosure. There's, sharing. So it's a very close relationship. You want to get the right publicist because not everybody has the same sensibilities. And you want a publicist that's aligned with your creative sensibilities. And so, yes, you want an author to bring to you great ideas. They're great ideas.
Let me ask you this, though. You're saying you need to find the right publicist. So what kind of key questions should an author be asking when they are interviewing potential publicists? How do they find the publicists to create a short list?
Right. Oftentimes it's, word of mouth. Other times it's just researching publicists in your area or, wherever you are. Asking questions, getting references from other authors who are, like-minded as you. And it's just doing some research, interview a few of them and be sure you're comfortable because it hopefully will be a lasting relationship. And so you want it to be right, but do some good research online and, of course, the writer's marketplace and all those books and everything. They have all that great stuff in there. But I'm fearless in trying new things with my authors. And it's wonderful when an author rides that wave with you. There have been times when I wanted more for my author than they did. And
that can get you into trouble. I can tell you as a business owner, that can get you into trouble. I've fallen in love more with the book than the author does, and then you have to kind of draw the line.
Right. Oh, it's like a real wake up call, and you have to ratchet it back down because you can't want more for the book than the author does. Yeah, you're right. So ask these questions of yourself, and you'll want to share this with your publicist. 3 important things. How much have I budgeted for my marketing? How is my book different from all the others out there? And who is your audience? You have to have those 3 things in place. You absolutely have a budget for marketing. Consider it an investment in yourself and in this book that you spent monkish hours writing. And then know how your book is different. Go into bookstores, look at other titles in your genre, know why your book is different because you'll want to pitch that to the media. And know who your audience is. And no, it's not for everyone. Your book has a specific audience. So know that, and you will be well set up for success if you can answer those 3 important questions. And
Lynda, go over those questions again. Those 3 critical questions. Who your ideal reader is, your audience is. What differentiates you?
And how much have you budgeted?
That's the big question. I think a lot have in that because I think they're clueless to what publicity, what a campaign might cost, how long ideally it will take or can take depending upon budget. So we're going to come back with our final break, but I would love to have you dive into that just a tad because this is a reality check. I think a lot of people think, I can do it for $500, and that's not going to happen. And this is publicity is a full-blown marketing joined at the hip thing that you would bring into play, unless you're going to alter me when we come back from our last break. All right, this is Judith Briles. It's AuthorU, your guide to book publishing, and we're talking about publicity for you and your book and how to be a really stunning seller. And maybe you don't make the 2%. Really the national bestseller. But you know what? There is a heck of a lot of room in that 98% that makes a nice living with their books. We'll be right back.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and a guide to partner with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand, and is a financial success, a bestseller. It's your choice. You choose. You need the book shepherd. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You don't need problems, you want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and the chaos. At times, she's had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher or by a publishing service provider or sometimes even the author themselves. Judith Briles is the book shepherd if you want to create a book with no regrets. Give her a call today, 303-885-2207. That's 303-885-2207, or email her at judith@briles.com. By the way, Briles is spelled B-R-I-L-E-S. Follow Judith on Twitter at My Book Shepherd and on Facebook at The Book Shepherd.
At Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, so 3 critical questions. What's your budget that you're going to have in to support this? Who exactly are you writing for and reaching out to? Who's your book for? And what's unique about you? What's different about you and your book? So it means, everyone, that one of the things that you need to do is to know what your competition is. You get onto Amazon and you look at your competing titles, you look at the competing things in your area, and also get your tush down to your favorite brick and mortar store and you look at what's posted in the section your book would be in if it was there. What are the players? And also pay attention to what the new arrivals are. And that's homework. You must do this. You have to do it. At least, would you agree with that, Lynda?
Oh, yes, it's nonstop. Yes.
I know.
Absolutely.
I know. I'm in the middle of teaching my How to Write a Book in 4 Weeks class, and the homework last night was literally they had to do that. and they were sent out on assignments to take pictures of what they liked and what they didn't like and what popped and what other things. And then we came back and really dissected the whole thing and how it fits and ties in with their book, because they're into now thinking, what should my cover look like? What can I interact with the designer about? But this is all part of the process. This is always part of your pre-marketing, by the way.
Absolutely. Yes, pre-marketing. Oh, yes. The marketing is always inherent and baked into it from the start, or at least it should be. Because, I mean, it will give you so many ideas, like, wow, I could promote my book here, I could promote it there. It might even change the content of your book. So if you really start early, it's so great. But, I mean, there's so many little things that you could do, too. Like, oh, my gosh, having a signature line in your email, like author of, with your information. Because maybe not everybody knows you're an author, and they're like, wow. I mean, that little thing can open up so many opportunities. Call the bookstores in your area and places that you're traveling and visiting, and offer to do a reading for them. I mean, there's independent bookstores are wonderful. I'm such a big supporter of independent bookstores because they're so engaged in the community, and they know their readers, and they recommend books. So you will do yourself a favor as an author by visiting these independent bookstores wherever you may be, and introduce yourself and leave them a copy of your book. Offer to do a reading. I mean, oh my gosh, they'll love you.
And bring people in. I mean, the book signings can be lonely unless you work on getting, if you're counting on just the general traffic, that everyone's going to hover around your table and shout out your praise, you're in for a rude awakening. It would. By the way, I would recommend you bring food, though. That will help.
Please, always. Probably the more fattening, the better.
The more you can get them hanging around, the better. That's for sure. So, but it's back to what you said. It's a party. This is a party. So but you have to drive people to do there. And if your goal is to get your books into bookstores, you have to have a primary goal that counters that, not counters it, that supplements it. That you're going to do all you can to drive bodies in there to ask for your book. It's a dual thing. You need to understand that.
And also, I mean, a couple of things to that. Number one, a book signing is a book signing is a book signing. I offer the bookstores, hey, let's do a writing workshop, a creative fiction workshop for like an hour, and then the author can sell books afterwards. But bring some value to it. Make it different. Tell them, make it short. It doesn't have to be a day-long thing. Just in an hour, look, these are the things you can do to help create characters in your fiction. And it's great because you're hearing from a published novelist and who's right there, personally in front of them. They don't have to pay for it, and it's wonderful. And secondly, I recommend selling your books and doing signings anywhere but a bookstore, because there is too much competition in a bookstore. Just think about it. When you're standing in line for a book signing at Barnes & Noble, aren't you looking? There's shelves everywhere of books. Aren't you looking at, oh, that looks interesting. You're picking up other books while you're waiting in line, looking at them. So anyway, you want to stand out. You want to be that red M&M in a bowl full of brown ones. So get outside of a bookstore. Let's say you've written a book on flowers or horticulture or whatever. Sell your books in a landscaping shop or a nursery, and have it at the counter as a point of purchase, and negotiate with the owner. I mean, get your books into places that there aren't other books. That will help you significantly.
I have a book, a client she's just going to print on it, called The Wise Woman's Almanac. And I'm, the subtitles slip me, but it's The Wise Woman's Almanac, and it is dealt with seasonal recipes. So it's a combination of cookbook but sage savvy advice, and that she's launching it at Tagawa's, which is a well-known high-end nursery here in the Metro Denver area, and huge weekend traffic, it's the ideal place because people go there for healthy plants. They have a great little side, a condiment area. They have a fabulous herb garden.
Right.
It's perfect for her book. So, Lynda's right. You think differently here. And don't say I need to think out of the box. You need to change the box. It's just change it.
Right, change the shape of it. I call it thinking outside of the book. So yes, I mean, oh my word, this was the most fun thing I've ever done with an author. We were traveling to New York for a book signing. We were stuck on the tarmac, excuse me, because of weather for like an hour. She had a copy of her book. I had a copy of her book. We gave a reading on the tarmac, and she got pre-orders from that reading. It was Dorothea Benton Frank, a beloved Southern author, and she got oodles of orders before the plane even took off. So use every opportunity creatively and to your advantage to work your books. And I mean, she had people coming up to her and saying, "Oh my gosh, we didn't know you were on this flight. This is so exciting." And it just created so much excitement for the book too. And that was a story she could tell.
Well, and there's just different ways. I remember being on the plane one time with Harvey Mackay, and he always carried his little shark pins and handed them out to everybody. I mean, he'd come away with dozens of orders for his books. That's how he pushed. I mean, he's a master salesman, but there's things you can do. All right. So let's come up with a few things here before we do a wrap up on that. So what about social media, traditional media that I know we kissed on it when we opened up the hour, that any other tidbits you might want to add on for is social media important for authors to have?
Social media, to an extent, is important. Like anything else, it's a conversation. If you're new to social media, I would advise taking time to absorb and do some research and learn how you can interact. You don't have to be on every social media platform. Pick and choose what works for you. You might just want to be on Facebook and Twitter. Just choose and focus. And I really use social media as a research tool because unless you're Anderson Cooper or Stephen King, in reality, social media won't help you that much in sales outside of your immediate circle. It doesn't go as deeply as traditional media does. So just know that you don't have to do everything. Don't drive yourself crazy and get frenetic with it all. Some people are more inclined to that than others. So just use what you will. I have worked with authors that were complete Luddites and had to drag them kicking and screaming into the social media world. But you don't have to do it all. And sometimes I've had authors that never did it all, never did one. I mean, they just wanted to do it authentically. And that's okay, too. Every author has different goals. So just be comfortable with what you're doing or you won't enjoy doing it.
And that's what's important to do. To be comfortable with what you're doing, otherwise you won't enjoy doing it. But that I love the statement: sell books anywhere except a bookstore. I think, wait a minute. What is that? So it's everywhere. Right. Anytime an opportunity opens up, whether it's at the tarmac or at the grocery store, be prepared. That's why I tell all authors, for heaven's sakes, you better have your book in your back hip pocket or in your coat pocket or that's why 6x9 may be way too big for your book. And it goes to the smaller sizes that you can slip it for women, slip it in a purse. You always have it in a briefcase. You always have a copy available, maybe carry two because someone is going to want to buy one of them that you have. So that's
absolutely, and this is where real books trump a Kindle. You cannot give a Kindle to and on a plane or to a flight attendant, I always give flight attendants and pilots copies of my clients' books because they are great readers. And I can't tell you, and their circle of influence is wide and far-reaching, and you cannot believe the impact that has.
So, you know what, Lynda? I forgot about doing that. I did that one time, and the flight attendant announced my book over the loudspeaker.
Right.
Welcome author Judith Briles. And you know what? I'm gonna start doing that. Carrie, better carry 3 to give away. Now 4, so you have one for yourself. So you've got two captain. You got a captain, a co-captain, and you want the head flight attendant. Push it around.
Right. Oh, wow. I know. Isn't it a beautiful thing when they do that? That you can't get any better promotion
it's
than
free.
that. Right?
Yeah. And it's you've got a captive audience, and and you just never know. And the thing is, you never know what's going to hit and what's not going to hit. So before we leave, we've got 30 seconds. So, I guess that, Lynda, we're going to have you back because I want to talk money. What people should expect if they're going to be expecting, because this is where they get caught all the time. And maybe what we can do is have you do a blog with us. I'll give you a call and put a blog together that we can get into that, because that's really where it's a shock. Some of the costs are a shock to do this. All right.
Right. It is. It can be. There can be a sticker shock, but I would love to have a conversation with you about that. And before we leave, let me just encourage your listeners and the authors out there that there is great value in just being you. So let that show through in your writing and publicity efforts. Very few people have the guts to be genuine, and that passion delivers value enough.
And that's the bottom line. All right. Thank you, Lynda Bouchard, who is the wisdom and brains behind bookingauthorsinc.com. If you want more information, go to her website and we'll have her back. This is Judith Briles. It's AuthorU, your guide to book publishing.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Each week, a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take you, the author, to the next level. You'll learn tips and secrets on how to create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve book publishing success by making one very simple change in your book's journey. How to avoid the publishing predators. How to create an author and book platform that rocks. Learn how to make a living with your words and your books. Learn how to publish a book that has no regrets, and so much more. For more information, check out AuthorU.org, where authors who want to be seriously successful go. And Judith's website, thebookshepherd.com. Then join us again here next week for more. It's Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Brought to you by AuthorU and the Book Shepherd. Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific,